Did you know that every word you speak matters? Are your conversations making a difference? With a passion for words and a heart for conversation, Teresa Velardi is a self-professed word nerd, best-selling author, BizCat 360 columnist, and publisher. Children's books as well as fiction and nonfiction books are welcomed at We Be Books Publishing and Book Endeavors, the imprints of her company, Authentic Endeavors Publishing. Whether written or spoken, Teresa strives to encourage and inspire meaningful conversations that make a difference. Here's the host of Conversations That Make a Difference, Teresa Velardi.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Conversations That Make a Difference. I am Teresa Velardi, and you can watch us every Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time with live call-in shows the first and third Tuesday of every month at 5 p.m. on YouTube. And you can even find us in your car, on your car radio, and you can have Alexa play Dreams Vision 7 radio, and you can get our apps, and you can learn more about the full schedule at dreamvision7radio.com. And before we get started, I am happy to have, first of all, I'm happy to have my guest, Leann Rhodes, back again for a second time. Her life has shifted and changed a lot since last we spoke, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But before we get started with that conversation, let's open with a prayer. We start with the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And it is by God's grace that we are fabulous, blessed, and highly favored, living in our greatness, using our gifts and talents, making a difference in the lives of others with passion and purpose, and all of God's great universe is conspiring in our favor. And we gratefully say, Amen. So a lot has happened since you were here last, Leann. I'm going to read your bio so I don't miss anything. So you are a mom, yes, and a previous elementary school teacher. You're a certified travel agent, author of 2 books, which we're going to talk about in a minute, that you'll find on Amazon: Rise Up, Shine On, and Just Prevail. You're a Sunday school teacher, founder of a nonprofit, Tides of Grace Incorporated, and most of all, you are indeed a child of God. We're going to talk about all those things. Leann was content in her life with her family and a very successful multi-million-dollar business in direct sales until she felt a whisper in her heart from God to change it all up. Ask me how I can relate to this. Those whispers are something else. They're pretty motivating, even though they're really quiet sometimes. For months, Leann kept hearing the whispers of her heart to close down her business and start a nonprofit. She pushed back and grappled with the whispers until finally she surrendered it all and said, God, use my vessel for your purpose. She's now the founder of a nonprofit, Tides of Grace, that gives back to the community on the Eastern Shore through kindness and compassion for those who need a helping hand. In the past few months of starting, she has been able to help over 300 individuals and families, and she's just getting started with the help of the entire community behind her. And I know they have a website and you have some contact information that you'll be able to give us as we go along here, but I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. Welcome, Leann Rhodes. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you again, and on a different level this time.
Oh yeah, much different level this time. So for people who did not see the first interview, which you can find on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network and the archives, you can also go to conversationsthatmakeadifference.com. They're there as well, and people can watch that entire interview. But would you catch people up on who you are and talk a little bit about what you were doing previously, because you were also giving back to the women's community and helping them get through some hard, difficult situations. So let me let you tell them a little bit about yourself and bring us up to date to where we are right now.
Sure. So I guess it was 16 years ago, I was introduced to a company that focused on women's sexual wellness. And to a lot of people, it may become a very taboo topic. People don't like to talk about sexual health. And I was very drawn to the amount of, or I should say, lack of education around the topic of sexual health. And I fell in love with the products of what they did, the purpose they served, the empowerment it gave these women. And so I became a partner of the direct sale company. And I did it on the side where we work with top-notch doctors around the world. They educate us to be able to take the knowledge that a lot of doctors don't talk about or women don't talk about, whether that is vaginal dryness, whether that is going through a lot of complications that come after mastectomies, women who have hysterectomies. A lot of times women just don't feel beautiful after these traumatic things, that sometimes sexual abuse, things that they've gone through. And it plays a huge factor in them feeling empowered as a woman and to be able to feel confident with their husband in the bedroom. And so our company really educates and tells women, that their feelings and the things they're going through are normal. There is something we can do to help. There's conversations around it. And so it was really nice to be able to have this company that I really believed in the products, that I could also go do presentations with women. It was a fun environment, but at the same time, we were educating. We were allowing women to just let loose, not be a mom, not be a wife for the night, and just be educated and walk out of there feeling confident with products that they could help, that are rated by the top doctors in the country. And you can quickly build a team in this direct sale company. And so that is what I did. And it became very successful in the beginning of doing this, so much that I was able to resign as a classroom elementary school teacher and do this business full time. I became a corporate trainer for the company. I traveled literally around the world. If you've never been to South Africa, it was one of my favorite trips I got to go train at. It was beautiful. And so I really became very high on the totem pole, built a multi-million-dollar team, loved every single aspect of it. And if somebody ever said, are you ever going to quit? My answer would be like, no way, like, absolutely not. I'm doing this till the day I die. And so it was nice to also have that flexibility. When my son was born 4 years ago, I used to, in the direct sale company, we would be in front of people doing presentations and make sales and things that way. It was nice to have the freedom and the flexibility. When my son was born, he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer at 2 weeks old. And it was a traumatic experience, but it was such a blessing. Thinking back that I wasn't an elementary school teacher, I didn't have to do the substitute plans and all of that. I had a business that I could just switch it. I could educate women through Zoom. I could do online things. And I never had to miss a beat and never had to leave his side. And I got to fight alongside of him while he survived his battle. And now he's thriving at 4 years old. Whole miracle. That's hence why I wrote a second book, all about his story. But and so life was great after that. And then I guess it's been about 4 months or so. There was a little whisper in my heart that I think you should close the door of your business and start something new. And I pulled back. I'm like, no, this is all I know. This is what I love. No, like, absolutely not. And, the whispers just kept getting stronger. There'd be situations along the way where at some point, I just had to say, okay, God, I surrender. You know what? It is clearly your purpose. There is no other ifs, ands, or buts in this. Take me and use me. And, when I think back of every situation where God was asking me to trust him, it always has worked out to exactly the purpose it was supposed to, whether that was with my son battling through cancer, whether it was, leaving my job as a classroom teacher and building my business. Everything happens, and sometimes things are just for seasons in your life, but they all serve a purpose. And so now I have left that multi-million-dollar business, and I started a nonprofit just a few months ago that has been very successful, and we're just getting started. So I'm really excited about it.
Awesome. That's awesome. And you had a couple of big things happen along the way. You just briefly kind of glazed over the fact that your son had stage 4 cancer, and you wrote about it. So I know your book, Just Prevail, if you want to show our audience that this book. This is actually the book of the month on dreamvision7network.com, dreamvision7.com. And you can read a little bit about that. And Talk a little bit, just a little bit about, so people will understand what happened with your son. He was diagnosed, and then somewhere along the line, and it's only a God thing, you got some information that helped in his healing. So just tell people a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So when he was diagnosed at 2 weeks old, first it was just a routine doctor's appointment. He had, like babies have big bellies. And I was just like, oh, he loves his milk. And so, my husband was like, I don't know, you should ask the doctor, it just kind of looks a little pouch, a little bit more than just a milk belly. And so the doctor, was feeling on it, at his 2-week checkup. And she was like, let's just take you for scans. It might just be a lactose allergy. So here I am pouting the whole way to the hospital to get scans, thinking I have to stop eating ice cream because I was breastfeeding. And, the hospital did these scans on it. And I'm still just thinking like, oh, it's just going to be a lactose thing. I got to cut my, milk intake back because it's making him, a little bloated. And they said, oh, we're not really sure. We see something. We're going to send you to Johns Hopkins. So I'm like, Johns Hopkins for a milk allergy? Like what? So I was still not comprehending the severity of when they send you to a Johns Hopkins. Mm-hmm. And they, so off we got transported, and my husband came up there, and the doctors did their scans, and they sat us down in this room, and it was getting all serious. And I just couldn't even wrap my brain around why we were having such a serious conversation, over still thinking I have to cut back dairy intake. And so, yeah. Right. And so she says, and I don't remember a whole lot of that conversation. It was just an out of body moment. But I do remember her basically saying, your son has a mass behind his heart that is cancerous. He has cancer in his bone marrow. There is cancer in his stomach on his liver, and so much that it is pushing his stomach all the way over to, or his liver all the way over to his stomach, and his belly will continue to get big because it's completely full of active cancer cells. And so she said, we have to hook him up to chemo and get him started right now. It's going to be a surgery. They'll insert a port through his neck, through his heart, behind his heart and through his chest. And we're going to start him on chemotherapy. And I said, a baby, a 2-week-old baby, you're going to put on. I've never even thought that could happen to an infant. I mean, you hear about it in adults, but I'm like, a baby? No way. And so I said, okay, I'm trying to wrap my brain around it. I said, so if I do this, will he survive? Thinking, how could this even be possible? This is my life right now. And I remember clear as day her saying, we're always hopeful, but I can't give you that answer. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what do? You have this literally an infant who they're going to put in surgery and start pumping full of chemo, which we know, yes, it has great factors, but it is poison. It's not great. Yeah. And, you see all the kids, you never think it's going to be you on the St. Jude's commercials, and you see the, bald babies, and you're like, oh, that'll never be me. And it was reality very quickly. And I remember just going with the flow, like, okay, this is what they have to do. And he needs 1.5 years of this. And I'm like, 1.5 years. Again, he's going to miss, here it was August. He's going to miss his first Halloween, his first Thanksgiving, his first Christmas. We're all going to be in the hospital. Like, this is not how I envisioned my rainbow baby that we tried so hard for. I mean, my children are 12 years apart. We tried so many years for him. And I just kept saying, man, why me, God? Like, why? Like, the struggles we went through to have this baby, and here you don't even know if he's going to make it. And you're going to rip all of this joy from me. And it was a very emotional moment. I remember being just very real and authentic to my friend in the hospital and saying, why me? I don't deserve this. I've had a very hard life of ups and downs and trials. And that was my first book that I published years before this, Rise Up, Shine On, which I have right here too, if you need to see the cover. But, and so I wrote,
they're both so good.
Yeah. And so, I wrote that story just to be, an example of your past doesn't define your future. And, you can have everything that you want with just sometimes believing in yourself and being your own cheerleader and your own hero. And here, how was I encouraging women in my own life through my book and my writing? And here I feel so weak. I don't feel encouraged. And I was just having a moment of saying, a pity party, why me? And my friend said, I'm going to allow you to be real for a moment, but I want you to switch your thinking. It is not why you, it's why not you.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wrap my brain around it. And she said, Leann, look at your situation. Like, God chose you to be this boy's mom because you're not an elementary school teacher. You're not having to go write substitute plans and worry about, are you going to get paid while, do you go to school to be paid, or do you stay off leave to be able to fight with your son? And how are you going to pay your bills? Like, you have the perfect opportunity that you've built this team in this, industry you're in that is going to run itself. And you can work from a hospital room, and you can take a mental break when you need to and still be there for your son. She said, so why not you? And she said, you're the perfect fit to fight alongside him. And God's going to use this for a testimony. You just have to believe it. And, in that moment, it just changed my whole perspective. And instead of this pity party, which, don't get me wrong, I still had moments where I was weak. But I had this faith that was so strong that people were like, where are you getting this faith? And I was like, I don't know, but we're going to see a miracle out of this. And I remember, so many people were sending us messages of, have you tried this? And have you tried that? And you get very overwhelmed very quickly when you're in a situation like that. And I mean, there was hundreds and hundreds of messages coming in, but this one particular one, I'm not even sure why I answered it. I mean, I know why now. It was complete divine intervention. But this man reached out to me and he said, you don't know who I am, but I'm following your son's story on Facebook, because it was my outlet. Every day I started just writing love letters to my son. I didn't know what to do. Everybody was asking updates and how's he doing? And the only thing I could think to do was just write. And so I was just writing basically love letters to him on Facebook, like telling him how his day was, giving him encouragement, telling him how much Jesus loves him, he's going to heal his body. And it gave other people this hope as they watched his story. And it became this huge, prayer chain across the world. It was amazing. And this guy reached out and he said, I saw your story, and my grandma had cancer, and she did not want to do chemo. She said she was going to die with her dignity. She was not going on chemo. And as a researcher, I needed to quickly figure out something that would help her, because I was not going to lose my grandma to cancer. And he said, I started studying the way cancer cells grow. They're probably not going to tell you this in the hospital, but there are holistic ways that you can help your baby, especially because you're breastfeeding. So everything that's going through you is going through him. And he said, I want you to cut red meat out of your diet. I want you to cut pork out of your diet. I want you to cut sugar out of your diet. Those three things, when there's active cancer cells in a body, they multiply at a rapid rate. And so if you then reverse it by adding, really great fruits and vegetables and certain things like wheatgrass into your diet, and start maybe juicing. He said, what I did was I created a juice for my grandma, and she cut those things out and she was juicing. You have to drink 6 ounces every 4 hours, but she's cancer-free now, and she remains cancer-free. And, the tumors can be shrunk just through CBD, no THC, but just CBD oil. And it's known to shrink, tumors. So you can put some under his tongue, take some under yours. You have nothing to lose. And I remember talking to my one friend, and I said, I don't have the capacity to figure out how to juice. I've never juiced in my life. Like, I'm the girl who will eat a whole pack of Oreo cookies and milk. I mean, you want me to cut sugar out of my diet? I mean, the only thing I have at this hospital is coffee and creamer right now. Like,
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you, because I can relate to that.
Right. You want me to juice? Like, I'm not that healthy girl, but you do whatever it'll take at this point, and so she said, I'm buying you the juicer. It's coming to your house. I'm going to buy you the first batch. We're going to juice together. I'm going to teach you how to do this. We're going to do it. And so, I kept saying, well, where's this money coming from? Because this juice ingredients is like $300 to $500 a week. And, it's just funny because it all unfolded. I mean, there'd be random checks that would just pop up in the mail and saying, we're thinking of you. And it'd be a $500 check, and it would cover for his juice all week. It was just so random. I'd be a refund that I overpaid on something in the mail. It was just so neat to watch God unfold that in my life. And so I did the juicing, and, people thought, I think not all people, but there are a couple people that thought I was crazy. I've lost my marbles. I mean, I would spend all this money on juicing. I would use little breast milk storage bags and pour the juice in, freeze it up, take a whole cooler to the hospital. And every 4 hours, I was thawing out this green juice that did not taste that good. And I would put a straw in and I would just suck it down so I could swallow it as fast as I could. And he had his first round of scans. And I told the doctor, I said, we're going to see a miracle out of this. How often do you see miracles? And she said, we see them sometimes. I was like, okay. And she said, but I do want to start talking about the dates he'll be in the hospital because we're coming up in October now. His scans were going to be on Halloween, trick or treat, right? And so she said, he is going to be in here on Thanksgiving. It's just the way you have to follow a protocol with how many days on chemo. I can give you Christmas Eve off, but he'll be in here on Christmas. And I was like, no, he's not. No, he's not. I feel it. He's not going to be in here. And she's like, okay, but realistically, honey, he needs 1.5 years of treatment. It's only been 70 some days. And I was like, okay. And so his first scans came and, you get the scans at the hospital and you go home and you wait patiently for them to call. And I was pulling in the driveway and it was about a 2-hour commute back and forth to Hopkins. And she called and she said, are you sitting down? And I said, yep, sure am. Like, I am now. Like, let's do this. And so she said, well, I wanted to call. I got his scans and I needed to ask you a question. And I said, okay. And she said, well, when do you want to ring his end of treatment bell? And at this point, I'm thinking she's nuts. I said, why are we talking about 1.5 years right now when you're supposed to tell me how his scans are? Like, you want me to tell you when we're going to ring his end of treatment bell in 1.5 years? I have no idea. And so I said, you mean like next year? And she said, no, like next week. And I said, no way.
Every time I hear that story, I get chills. I
know. And so she said, you asked me how often I see a miracle in year 1. She said, we don't know. She said, I didn't even believe the scans. I had doctors literally around the world calling in to check these scans because I don't want to miss something. And she said, so whatever you're juicing, I chuckled at you, but whatever you're juicing, you keep juicing. And so it was just, we didn't go, we were done. The next week he had his surgery. It was 88 days. He beat stage 4 cancer. I mean, he got his port taken out. He didn't need any more chemo. There's a couple little cancer cells that dissolved on their own from the juice. And he's great. He's thriving. He didn't have to spend his first Thanksgiving and Christmas in the hospital. Just a miracle that unfolded.
Miracle. And what a way to start our time together. And on that note, we have to go to our first break, but boy, did you do a great job of tightening that up so everybody knows that you have seen the power of God in your life in more ways than one already. And we're going to see how God shows up again when we come right back. We'll be right back with Leann Rhodes.
What if dreams can diagnose your life? What if we can meet the love of our life in dreams? Join host Kat O'Keefe Canovis, the #1 internationally best-selling author of Dreams That Can Save Your Life, written with Duke University medical doctor Larry Burke. Dreaming Healing is where we'll explore dreams, research, and interpret dreams from you, the caller. Dreaming Healing shows can be heard every Tuesday at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern, with live shows on the first and third evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific Time on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network. Come live your dreams out loud with Kat.
Are miracles real? Can you move from mayhem to miracles? 30 prominent authors say yes as they share their high fives and down lows of challenges, abuse, addiction, and love. Experience hope, the magic elixir of miracles, through the personal stories of New York Times bestselling authors James Redfield, Dr. Bernie Siegel, Sister Jenna, Reverend Temple Hayes, and many more. If you like bestsellers, chaos to clarity, and crappy to happy, you'll love crying and laughing through Mayhem to Miracles. Sacred stories of transformational hope. Available now on Amazon and in bookstores worldwide.
Did you know that every word you speak matters? What you say and how you say it can make or break a relationship or shift the outcome of any situation. Are your conversations making a difference? Faith in God, gratitude, authenticity, and giving are Teresa Velardi's heart. It's in this spirit that she's focused on making a difference in the lives she's blessed to touch. Conversations that Make a Difference is now on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network every Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time, with live call-in shows every first and third Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
Welcome back. We're going to continue our conversation with Leann Rhodes, who just described her miracle of life with her little boy. And I wanted to also say that Leann actually wrote a story in A Daily Gift of Gratitude, which was the book of the month, one of the books of the month for January as well. And the title of her story, as she said, is Why Not Me? So if you haven't gotten your copy of Daily Gift of Gratitude, this is available on Amazon. And also another book that is was the book of the month in January is The Fourfold Formula for All Things Wellness. Lots of really good stories in here, and many, many different aspects of wellness are touched on in this particular book. So enjoy them, as well as Just Prevail. I wanted to hold that up again. And you can read Leann's book, Rise Up, Shine On, as well. And that will describe, that'll give you an idea of where she came from and how God has always really taken her through so many tough times. And you know, you talked about, we titled this about listening to the whispers of the heart. And I was so happy to hear that those words come out of your mouth, because I am familiar with those whispers, and so are probably so many other people, but you don't realize where they come from. You know, like you'll hear like, for example, if you're driving home and you say, oh, go this way, you hear something say, go this way, instead of your normal routine. And you come to find out later on that there was a major accident, and that little whisper of your heart saved you from being harmed on the way home. And it could be as simple as, you know, like, don't go out right now, or whatever, you know, but mine was walk away from the altar, Teresa. Don't do this. I have something so much better for you. Only I didn't listen. And I believe that everything that happened to me was punishment through my upbringing for not listening to God. But I have since learned. And when God whispers, I listen. So, but I know you started off by saying that you heard these little whispers, and then, you know, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay with this business. I'm helping so many women. So tell us exactly what God was prompting you to do and what you have done in such a short time, because I met Leann like 6 months ago in July of last year, 2022. And this was nowhere on her radar that I knew of anyway, although I really didn't have many conversations about, you know, what she did and whatnot. We were in a retreat setting, but here we are. And like from the last interview we did on my show, that was nowhere around the conversation. So tell our listeners what happened.
Yeah. So it's funny because I was at that workshop with you, and we had a time where we could just sit and pray. You know, I really had worked on some healing from my past. And so I felt like I was in a good place at that healing conference. So, you know, when people were praying for maybe help healing, my prayer wasn't that. It was, God, show me my purpose in life. And it wasn't that I wasn't fulfilled in my job. I've had so many things that have happened along the way that I wanted to be able to use my testimony, my knowledge, my compassion for so many things to fulfill whatever purpose that is. And if it was to stay right put where I am, then I would have listened to that. But I was praying for God to just show me my purpose in life and where I should be going. And I don't remember who it was, but somebody, you know, we were all sitting there silently praying, and somebody came up behind one of the speakers and said, can I pray over you? And I said, sure. And so she, you don't have to tell me what you're praying over. So she was praying, and she said, I need to tell you what I heard from God just now. And I was like, okay. And she said, God's telling you the answer, or he has lots cats in stores waiting for you to close the door. And I didn't know what that meant. And so I was like, close what door? Like what? And so it didn't really have a lot of meaning yet. And so then things started, adjusting in our company. And there were some things that started feeling like off alignment. And I was like, this is weird. And I feel like sometimes when God wants to use you, if you don't move, he will make it so you have to move.
Yeah.
And, and so, one thing happened and I was like, oh, like, I don't know, like maybe I should be looking for something else to fulfill a bigger purpose. And then, another thing happened with the company. And it was just small adjustments. I mean, times are just changing with the way of, like what's, like people wanting you in their home to do presentation parties anymore. Like times have changed since COVID. And it was nothing bad with the company. It was just things were adjusting. And I felt like I was not able to really fulfill my purpose that I used to have, which was getting in front of people and talking to people one-on-one and having that consultation. A lot of that was starting to shift and change. And I was feeling kind of like stagnant. And so then I went to this Priscilla Schreier class and the sermon she was having, and we all got these little conversation cards afterwards, and we picked it and it said, what area is God asking you to trust him right now? And I was like, And so, I kept hearing like in the shower, like, Leann, just start something new. Like why don't you've done so much, you've learned so much. You will always have a heart of gratitude for your company you're with, but you've outgrown it now. So let's utilize every skill set that you've learned and let's grow that into a different purpose. And I kept saying, oh, but like, that's where my money is. Like, that's where, financially I feel comfortable. If I stop, like, what do I do? I mean, what would I do financially? I don't even know. And
so the juice either, and it just showed up.
Right. And so that's what I was thinking. And then I get the card saying, what areas God asking you to trust him? And I was like, oh, like, but how do you trust when you don't? So then, just things kept happening. And so I always do an annual toy drive, and it's always just been a gently used toy drive that myself and a couple other local moms put together for those who are less fortunate. They come and they get for free gently used gifts to wrap for their kids for Christmas. And it's been the first year we had like 100. The second year we had over 200 signed up for it. And so we were getting ready to do our third. And I was getting so excited, just the planning of it. And I said, it really bites that people only do this stuff around the holidays. Like people are in need a helping hand all the time. And so then I got to thinking, I'm like, how many times have I needed a helping hand? And it was not always financially. Thinking back to JP, I mean, I needed a helping hand in that hospital. I mean, it was getting ready to be the holidays. I didn't have the mental capacity to schedule family photos and things like that everybody takes for granted. I just didn't even have the mental capacity. I didn't know what our schedule was going to look like for family photos with his first Christmas to get pictures done. When we didn't even know we were going up to the hospital. We didn't have a necessities bag. We didn't have blankets. We didn't have any of that to go up there. How many times have I relied on the community to offer a helping hand? And I just got to thinking, okay, well, maybe this is where I'm supposed to be. Like, I'm so passionate about wanting to give back to a community that has always helped, whether it was me growing up with, us as a family, not having a lot of things and utilizing food banks and resources and things, to then going into college and still needing helping hands as I was putting myself through school, to then being financially stable, but still needing a helping hand. So helping hand, I didn't want to be the one that just helped low income. I wanted to be the person that helped anybody going through a storm in their life, because I always say you're either coming out of one, in the middle of one, you're going to hit one. And how nice is it to know that you have a community that doesn't judge you, that is there to help you without criticism or, without taking your situation and, talking about it. It's nice to just have somebody that cares. And I wanted to be on the front line of that. I've always worked with helping. So maybe this was the door that God was working. And when it's from God, everything works out easy. It's easy. And so when I thought of that, I remember sitting down and having a conversation with my husband, John. I was like, I think I'm going to go ahead and leave and start a nonprofit because I want to do something every single month, not just a one time a year toy drive. And, of course he was like, oh, like your income, what are you going to do? And I was like, it's okay. I do travel on the side as a hobby. Maybe I'll step that up. Or, I'll babysit. It's fine. Like I'll do whatever I need to do, but I want to be able to find focus on a nonprofit, and God will always provide. He's never not provided. Mm-hmm. So I'm not worried about that. And he was like, how are you not worried about that? I'm like, because looking back, when I should have been worried about so many things with finances, it always worked out. And so he's like, you're right. Everything that you've ever thought or was worried about, it wasn't your worry. It wasn't your battle. Right. And it always worked out. And it was so funny because I had a friend from church, and I don't know if she's watching this now, but love Natalie. So Natalie is like your prayer warrior. And I didn't tell anybody that I was getting ready to thinking about leaving my business and starting a nonprofit. I have hundreds of women on my team. I didn't want to cause panic yet until I knew 100% I was sure that this is what I was going to do. And so it was a private conversation, and Natalie, it was like 9:30 at night. Natalie kept calling me. And I didn't answer. And because I was having this conversation. So afterwards I said, oh, John, maybe something's wrong. Natalie usually doesn't call this late. And so I called her back and I said, Natalie, is everything okay? And she said, yes. She said, but you're on my heart so heavy right now that I had to call and make sure you're okay. And I said, oh yeah, I'm just having a conversation with John. She said, okay, I'm supposed to be asking you, are you at a crossroads with anything in your life right now? And I said, yeah, actually I am. And we're just having a conversation about it. She said, I'm supposed to tell you close the door. And when she said that, I was like, that's it. There's my whisper. There's another confirmation. Like, I'm done. Like, this is where I'm supposed to be. There's no more guessing. There isn't, like, how would she have known? I haven't talked to anybody about this, and she's such a prayer warrior, and she is so in touch with hearing from the Holy Spirit. And sometimes it's a gift that so many of us wish we could hear from him as well as she hears from him. And so when she said that, I said, you don't understand what that means to me right now. And then everything else just fell into place. It was easy. Everything was easy. And so that's how I got started on my nonprofit just about 5 months ago. I resigned altogether from my company, and I still have cherished memories, and I'm a heart of gratitude for everything I've learned, that I can now turn that business mindset into just running a nonprofit that is still going to bring compassion and a helping hand. It's just a different outlook now.
Yeah, that's so awesome. That's so awesome. Isn't it amazing how when we don't listen to the whispers, or we're not going at God's pace, he will turn around and tell somebody else to get involved with us, right? It's just amazing how, and first it's a little whisper, and then it comes a little bit louder, and then it comes from somebody else. You better pay attention. And I was having this conversation with somebody this morning about when one door closes, another door opens, but sometimes waiting in the hallway can be, for lack of a better phrase, a living hell, until we wait for the next thing. But it's such a beautiful thing when you close the door, the next one opens, and all you have to do is walk across the hallway into the next room. So
you don't have to see the whole journey, and that's part of learning it. It's not your job to see the end result of it. You just have to take the first step. Oh, and let me tell you this. So funny. So at that conference we were at, we all had to paint. Do you remember that painting?
Yes.
Okay. And so at that painting, I drew this tree. Where is it? Right here. And so I didn't really know when I was drawing this tree, but I kept hearing the words over and over, trust me. And I didn't know what that meant either. But then here I pull that card at that conference saying, what area is God asking you to trust him? And I was like, it goes with the trust. It just all the pieces, when you look back, fit together, just like it did when my son went through his cancer battle. Every piece, every person that's in your life was supposed to be there. It's literally his his mastery of like just putting all the pieces together. And it's so fun to see it just unfold and say, wow, this is such a God thumbprint on this.
Yeah, it's amazing. And, you know, for anyone who's listening, who's had, who can relate to this conversation, please go to YouTube and put your questions in there. By the way, I got a message that says Heather King says hi on YouTube. Do you know Heather King?
Yes. Heather is a dear friend of mine that is on my team from my prior company.
Awesome. So hi, Heather. Thanks for tuning in to Conversations That Make a Difference. Leann and I are grateful for you. And we have to go to our next break. So if you have a question for Leann, just give put it in the chat on YouTube, and it will get to me via text, and I'll ask Leann your question until we come back. We'll be right back with more from Leann Rhodes and Tides of Grace. And we're going to talk about how you came up with your title for your non-for-profit.
When you think about being healthy and happy, do you consider the 24 areas of your life? Probably not. With the All Things Wellness Wheel, you become self-empowered, allowing you to make healthier decisions about relationships, nutrition, sleep, exercise, stress, and even your value system. The All Things Wellness book series, written by Peggy Wilms and Dr. Marcus Bettstein, teaches about the ATW wheel and brings dozens of true and personal stories from real people. The first of these multi-author books, The Fourfold Formula, features the foreword written by the Celestine Prophecy author, James Redfield, and is now available on Amazon. Reserve your spot now to become a published author in Book 2, Win the Wellness War, We Are Responsible. Visit allthingswellness.com/author for more information.
In a world facing annihilation, a miraculous African nun rises to become the first female pope through a web of war, murder, and betrayal. Loved by some, hated by many, she becomes the deadly target of Islamic terrorists and her own cardinals as she introduces a new vision that will either save humanity or accelerate its destruction. 4 people must race against a nuclear holocaust to learn her astonishing secret. Pope Annalisa is available at petercanova.com, Amazon, and other online booksellers and bookstores worldwide.
Did you know that every word you speak matters? What you say and how you say it can make or break a relationship or shift the outcome of any situation. Are your conversations making a difference? Faith in God, gratitude, authenticity, and giving are Teresa Velardi's heart. It's in this spirit that she's focused on making a difference in the lives she's blessed to touch. Conversations That Make a Difference is now on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network every Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time, with live call-in shows every first and third Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern.
Why are we here? How can we be happy? Questions asked from millennials to boomers. Crappy to Happy, Sacred Stories of Transformational Joy answers them using true stories of grit, grace, and love. James Redfield, author of the Celestine Prophecy, wrote in the foreword, "This book is a seminar about emerging truths and offers grounded solutions through the art of the comeback." Dr. Bernie Siegel, a contributing author, wrote, "Bodies die, but spirits and consciousness survive and recycle." So, grab some tissues, open your book, and prepare to cry and laugh till it heals. Crappy to Happy by Reverend Ariel Patricia and Kathleen O'Keefe Cannabis. Available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and booksellers worldwide.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we're back with Leann Rhodes. I want to talk about a daily gift of gratitude for a minute here. This was a whisper. This was a whisper. God whispered the daily gift book series to me probably 5 years before I actually got the book out. And I talked about it. And for whatever reason, the timing wasn't right. And this book came together in a very short period of time, very similar to your situation. So, and this is the first in a series, and we're looking now for stories. And I know you have one that will fit right into this, Leann. I did it. I prayed I wouldn't do it, but it came out anyway.
Okay.
Leann, the next one is a daily gift of hope. And you can go to, anyone who wants to participate can go into dailygiftbookseries.com, and it has all the information on how to be a part of that book series. And there's going to be the daily gift of hope. A daily gift of hope is the next one. And then right after that will be a daily gift of kindness. And your ministry, I'm going to say it's a ministry because we all have everything that we do and we do with purpose, I believe is a ministry given to us from God. You know, I think this is part of my ministry. And, you know, when I think about like, how am I going to do this? Well, you know, there's something that always resonates in my head. If God brought you to it, he will bring you through it. And and he will provide the way, will provide the way all the way. So a couple of questions. How do I get the recipe for your smoothie?
Oh, it's in Just Prevail. So the cool thing with Just Prevail is every day I wrote him love letters that I then published into this book, and it's like day 1, day 2, and it's all the way through. But I didn't want it to just be a book for somebody reading about cancer. I wanted it to be an encouragement. So before every love letter, I wrote a pep talk for anybody going through their own storm in their life. So you get a pep talk, you feel motivated, inspired for any situation, not just cancer. So you get that before each letter. So before one of his letters is the whole juicing recipe, because it's not just for cancer. I mean, it's good for our bodies. We should be taking care of our body. It's a temple.
Yes, absolutely. So, and the other thing I wanted to ask you is, both of us have been talking about hearing God's voice, and there's people who want to hear him. And somebody is saying right now, I want to hear God, and I'm not sure if I hear him or the enemy. How do you really know? God whispers, first of all. He's not loud. He's not boisterous. He will, and he's very patient, right?
Very.
That's my answer. What's your answer?
You know, if it brings you anxiety more than excitement, I feel like it's not from God. If you get excited about it, and, you know, of course you're supposed to be nervous. Your dreams are always supposed to scare you a little, but they're supposed to excite you even more. And so if an idea excites you and you feel at ease, then I truly believe it's from God.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I have here, have you suffered doubt after making a move? I know I have. How do you overcome the doubt? Go ahead. I'll let you answer first, and then I have something to add.
I think it's normal to have doubt with every single thing that we do. However, when I get those moments, I will plug in to whether it's the XM stations on the radio, whether it is my worship songs, I'll hear God through that and I'll feel better. Whether it's sermons, whether it's just reading my Bible, some devotionals, plugging in to a higher power, truly will just make whatever sadness you're going through. I mean, it's like going to a hospital. When you feel doubt and you're sick, then you go get well. And we have so many resources to get well and to fix that doubt that I think it just makes it easy. But I think doubt is normal, but that's not where we're supposed to stay.
Yeah. And I think God uses other people to help us along the way, like the recipe that you got for JP, like the message that you got from your friend, is it Nicole?
Natalie,
I know it was an N. So, and then sometimes, sometimes we just have to like take that leap of faith and trust. We have to trust. And for some people, myself included, like being able to trust other people, number one, is difficult enough. And then, since we can't see God, it's like, how do I trust something that or someone that I can't see and that I don't know very well. Well, you deepen your relationship, and then you will learn how to trust, and then trusting God becomes easy to be able to get through any situation that presses on you with anxiety. So I'm assuming, that being said, I'm assuming that you trusted God to help you name your business. How did you come up with Tides of Grace? I'd like to hear this story.
So I always, looking back, have hoped that people would give me grace through whatever journey I was in. And like I said, it wasn't always finances. I mean, when I wouldn't return a phone call because I was so just overwhelmed or depressed or sad, I wanted somebody to give me grace. And God's grace is enough. And, but not everybody sees that yet. So I wanted a community to give others grace as well through whatever hardship they're going through. And, I always hear that saying, you never know what somebody's going through. So be nice to people and be kind to people. You don't know what news they just got, so to give somebody grace without judgment is really just what we're supposed to do. And so I wanted to remind people of that. I wanted it to be elegant and to be soft, and grace just feels easy and soft.
Yes.
And, Tides, we're on the Eastern Shore, and my purpose is to serve the Eastern Shore of Maryland. And I was just thinking of, the oceans and tides, and your storms are going to come in and out of your life like tides. And so I just put it together. I was like, you know what? Tides of grace, because everybody is going to need times in their life where they're just going to need a moment of grace, and other people to give them a moment of grace.
So talk about how you said you were going to do something special every month of the year. Like you would have a month for certain things to be donated, to be able to give a hand up to those who are looking for some grace, if you will. So talk a little bit about that, and how people, I know you have a website and people can go there and look and see what's going on. So share that with us as well.
Sure. So I didn't want to be the one time of year nonprofit that you hear about. I wanted to be a nonprofit that continues to give all year. And so I sat and I brainstormed. I'm like, what are some things that I know over the years that I appreciated somebody offering a helping hand with? When JP was in treatment, we had an amazing friend just reach out and say, you don't know me that well, but I would love to do your family photos. That was so nice. It literally took that stress off my shoulders. I remember being younger, and my daughter being younger, and somebody giving us a some hand-me-down, like some stuff when we first got started. I was a young mom, and how nice that was to just have, a hand-me-down playpen, but it was perfect. It saved me $100. When there was times when I was younger, I didn't get haircuts before school. We didn't have we were low income. I didn't have the new book bag. I was using my same book bag from the years before. The clothes were high waters on me, and we grew up in a time where, looking back, it would have been nice to have something like I offer in the community. So I took those topics. I said, okay, well, January, let's give out books and blankets. You don't know who just needs to decompress and just take a load off their shoulders, sit on a couch, cozy up under a blanket, and read a book. And so we did books and blankets, and some children don't even have books in their house.
Yeah.
And so I gathered books and blankets from the whole community. And I love that the community gets to be part of this. It's not just a one-person rodeo. I could not do this without the community getting behind love and compassion and offering people grace. So people have been donating blankets and books. This month is gently used shoes. I mean, a shoe that's gently used that actually fits you and the soles aren't coming off is a blessing to someone. I mean, shoes can be very expensive for your kids, for yourself, or you buy the shoes for your kids, but then you never treat yourself to a new pair of shoes because it's just not in the budget. So we have hundreds of shoes to be able to give away. They just come in, they get a bag of shoes, and they walk out feeling like a new person.
Yeah.
And so Easter baskets is for the month of March. And so right now for that, we're asking if anybody wants to sponsor a child for Easter. Our goal is to make 100 Easter baskets for a parent who just needs a helping hand with their child for Easter. And it's $20. We'll sponsor one child, and we're going to, with the volunteers in the community, put together 100 Easter baskets. We'll go buy all the stuff, we'll go stuff them, and these parents will sign up and come pick up an Easter basket and know that they have some bunny who cares.
Yeah.
To go at Easter.
I love that.
So there's prom dresses. You wear them one time. Why would you not allow somebody to come get a prom dress that they don't have to spend $100 on for one time?
Yeah.
That feels beautiful, when they go to prom. And there's a new mom's drive. So many moms want to get rid of their stuff after their children are not babies. So they're going to donate, their cribs, their bassinets, their walkers and strollers. And to somebody else, what a blessing that's going to be. Whatever chapter is, it's not our place to judge why they would need that. But if it offers them a helping hand, why not? So we have the community giving free haircuts one month. So right before school, they'll be able to come out and get a free haircut. There's free family photos right before Christmas. We'll have some photographers in the community taking professional photos and sending them their free professional photos. Some people don't ever get family photos. Every month is just something different. They can find it on our Facebook page, just Tides of Grace INC. We do have a website. It's actually down for maintenance right now because we are putting all of our pictures and all of our events and things up there right now, but it should be up and working soon. But that is tidesofgraceinc.org. But you can still find all of our stuff on Facebook right now. We're getting ready to launch the Some Bunny Who Cares campaign, probably this evening, actually.
Nice.
And so it's just, there's a lot of things. Every month there's something, and it allows the community to get involved. It allows the recipient to feel that they have a place to go to. They can prepare for the whole year and know when to pop in and just know that it's a judgment-free zone.
That's awesome. I just love what you're doing, Leann. I just love it. And my hope in bringing this conversation to Conversations That Make a Difference is that someone somewhere is hearing this conversation and saying, I need to do that in my area. I want to do something like that in my area. And and the world needs a helping hand right now where we're at. It's so there are so many things that we've never experienced before. And there are so many people who could use someone in their life like you, Leann. And I just love what you're doing. So my hope is that anybody who's hearing this, if someone wants to talk to you, wants to reach out to you for maybe some information in your local area, or somebody who is wanting to do, as I just said, wants to know more about how to get started, where can they reach you?
Yeah, they can email me. It's Leann, Leann. There's no E on it. So Leann at tidesofgraceinc.org. And you can email me. You could find me on Facebook and send me a message to the business page of Tides of Grace INC.
Yeah. So together with Leann, I'm going to tell you, when God whispers to you, listen, because there is purpose and there is, as you can see, passion in what she's doing. And, your gift may not bring you to the place where Leann is, but it will bring you somewhere where you're supposed to be. So with that being said, I can't believe our hour is up already. And we have to move on to say goodbye to all of our listeners for the day. But I thank you for joining us for Conversations That Make a Difference, Leann, and all of those who have listened in. Make sure that the conversations that you're having are making a difference in the lives of somebody that maybe you don't know. Their whole life might change with one conversation. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks.
Tune in next time for Conversations That Make a Difference with host Teresa Velardi every Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern, with live call-in shows every first and third Tuesday on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network. Thank you for listening, and thank you to our producer Rachel and to our station owner Deborah Beauvais, working behind the scenes. Be sure to go to conversationsthatmakeadifference.com for your free gift. Make sure your conversations make a difference.